All right. Hello, data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays podcast. This podcast is from volume number 2 of I Love Data Fridays on January the 8th, 2017. And actually, this podcast is being re-recorded on February the 8th, 2017 with some corrected information that was brought to our attention from a teacher leader. So let me get right into it. Who's talking data to you today? Well, my name is Jeff Breimer-Bashore. I'm the Director of IT and Operations here at the International Data Evaluation Center. And let's get to it. Let's talk some data. What are we talking about? Well, this is question 2 from our volume 2 on I Love Data Fridays. And the question goes, which table or graph in the report shows the growth of just EL learners in the district? Now, we had a follow-up question to the teacher leader. We wanted to know which scores she was looking for. So she sent her, we asked her, what kind of growth are you looking for? Text reading level. And she responded, mainly, but it would be nice to see the growth for all observation survey scores on the assessments. All right, so let's talk a little data. Where can we find our EL data? Well, good news, and especially looking at the EL data by observation survey scores, we can find it in our disaggregated reports. All right, so any report, any table in the disaggregated report that ends in a .4 will contain data about ELL students. Now, it doesn't say specifically ELL students. It lists the students out by fall oral language proficiency. So specifically, you can find ELL OS scores data in the following tables. Tables 3.14 for text reading level, 3.2.4 for writing vocabulary, 3.3.4 for hearing, recording sounds and words, 3.4.4 for letter identification, 3.5.4 for the Ohio word test, and 3.6.4 for concepts about print. Now, we give you a site disaggregated report that's included in your current fees. So when you submit your data this year, you will automatically get a site disaggregated report without having to pay anything extras. That's included in your teacher data entry fee and your site setup fee. Now, we can produce district disaggregated reports, but those are an extra $75. So you can get a district disaggregated report, just costs extra money to get that. Now, let's actually go and look at the data here, an example. All right, let me switch screens around here. So here is a sample table of table 3.1.4. It's the progress on text reading level by fall oral language proficiency and intervention status / study group. So now I know some of you are looking at this table and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a huge table. Can't handle this, brain's gonna explode. But don't worry, it's not as hard to interpret as you think. So let's just start with our columns here, all right? So this first column is going to show us which categories of students we are going to be looking at. So for example, we are going to start off with native English speakers, all right? So this next section, all the way up to, let me go down here, let's see, all the way down to here are native English speakers, and then it moves on to students whose English language proficiency was student unable to respond. So we have these grouping rows here where we have one item in the row and then it follows that there's nothing in the columns afterwards. These are our grouping rows. So here's another grouping row right here for kids who knew isolated words. Another grouping row for kids who knew isolated phrases. So every row underneath are results for kids who knew isolated phrases, and so on and so forth down the page. Now, if we go back now, in each section, you'll notice that it reports data on discontinued children, recommended children, incomplete children, moved children, none of above children, all children served, completed interventions, which is our discontinued and recommended kids added together. So we have this for each section of our data table here. So just for example, if we go down to our students unable to respond, we have a discontinued row for those these kids and all served completed in a completed intervention. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at our columns here. So the table reports fall scores, entry scores, exit scores, year-end scores, and then a fall to year-end gain. All right? For each of these scores, it reports the number of kids that fell into this category. So, for example, in our native English speakers, in the discontinued row, in the fall, 22 kids had a fall score in this category. At entry, 32 kids had a fall score. At exit, 32 kids had a fall score. And at year-end, 32 kids had a fall score. And to compute the gain, 22 kids were used to compute the gain. And then for each score, time period, fall, entry, exit, year-end, it has our average score. So the average score, for example, for our native English speaker who was discontinued in the fall was a 0.7. At entry, it was a 0.27. At exit, it was a 14.2. And at year-end, it was a 16.2. Now, when we come to the year-end gain, this is how much they gained from fall to year-end. The average gain was about 16.2 text levels. So there you go. That's just a quick lesson on how to interpret this table. Now, let me get on to where we made a mistake. Now, what I got to say, people, is that this was great. We found out about this mistake. The teacher leader who submitted this question actually came to visit the friendly folks at IDEC at the Reading Recovery National Conference back at the end of January. And she had us look at this table, and what we had mistakenly pointed out in our first video is in this first video, in the section down at the bottom here, we said that the all fall English proficiency responses is where you would actually find your English language learner students. All right? And she came in, told us to take a look at the numbers, compare that to actually another table in her site report, and what we found out is that was a mistake, that this all fall English language proficiency responses includes both native English speakers and English language learners. So I thought that was great. Teacher leader using her data to show us that we made a mistake, and we're here to correct it. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm happy to tell you is that we are going to be adding a new section to tables 3.1.4 through 3.6.4. And we are going to add a all ELL students section for the 2016-17 school year. It doesn't exist in the table now. Those tables right now, we're going to stick it in there. And it should look something like this when you see it. It'll say all ELL students, and then it'll just have the data for those kids who are English language learners. It's not separating it out by their English language proficiency. It's just putting them all together. So there you go, folks. There you have it. We've got our English language learning students to be added to tables 3.1.4 through table 3.6.4, and you'll be able to see how those kids did throughout the year on the observation survey scores. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to another I Love Data Fridays podcast, and we'll talk data to you later.